Converts. This is Bree with F the Cubicle. Today I want to welcome, and I want you to welcome as well, Miss Cristina Favreau. Cristina is not only a hustler and a grinder, as I like to say, and a phenomenal entrepreneur, but she is also a podcaster and a blogger, plus a wife and a mother. So she pretty much does it all, which I find phenomenal. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. Hello, Miss Cristina. How are you today?
I'm good, Bree. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. We talked a little beforehand a few days ago, and I just knew immediately, just right off the bat, like I felt like we had a connection. Like I was totally vibing with everything you were talking about, and I could just feel that your spirit and your energy. And I said, I have to ensure that I get Cristina on this interview series to feature her because she's freaking amazing. So I did mention that you podcast, you blog, you're an entrepreneur, you're a businesswoman, you do any and everything. Can you tell us more about yourself and more about what you do?
Sure. Well, I'm in Canada, so excuse my accent. I'm French Canadian, and so I speak neither English nor French well, so pardon my French, as they say. So yeah, I'm a virtual assistant. That's how I started. About October will be my 12th year anniversary that I F the cubicle 12 years ago, and started off as a virtual assistant. Then when I started having kids, I couldn't be available the way I wanted to be as a virtual assistant. My angle was I'm available 24/7. You call me, you need something done, I can, fly off. I flew off to New Orleans with a client to go to a trade show. I was able to do that. Then when I started having kids and we started, thinking about my work schedule, I see myself now. So I'm self-conscious. You can't be switching up on me like that, Brie. I got ADHD here.
I have to say, guys, this just Cubicle Converts, for those that are watching, this is only interview number 2. And if you caught the first one, we had laptop issues. So apparently on this one, we're going to have video and camera issues. So I just need to go ahead and go through all the issues and challenges up front and get them out of the way.
Hey, you know what? We roll with the punches. Absolutely. And I don't think anyone will really mind.
Absolutely.
Switched up on me, and all of a sudden I'm looking at me instead of your beautiful face. I got to see my mug.
Oh, so can you see me now?
So once we started thinking about how we're going to organize because I didn't want to stop working, but I did know things needed to change. And so as soon as I was pregnant with my son, my first child, I got certified as a coach. And so I got my coaching certification and started coaching other virtual assistants, got very, very active into the sort of training. I did tons of telesummits, tons and tons of them, lots of online stuff. I'm a little bit of an introvert. I'm very gregarious. I'm very outgoing, but I like doing my thing in my office and in the comfort of my home. So telesummits, things like this, video was very, very comfortable. Then when my youngest, and so I had 3 kids in under 3 years. My older 2 were going to daycare at that point. And then I just decided, you know what? I didn't have kids to send them to daycare full time so I can do my thing, So I decided when my youngest was 1, I pulled the other 2 out of daycare, and I took 4 years off. I shut pretty much everything down. The only thing I kept is I kept my domain name, I kept my blog up, but I did nothing else, no networking, no social media. I had, was doing my thing on my own Facebook page and stuff. But, and then April 2013, quite by accident, I wasn't ready to come out of hiatus just yet, but I did have an opportunity to start back as a virtual assistant with someone who understood my situation. I still had a baby at home. I was homeschooling my son at that point.
Right.
And so she just needed me a few hours, and I was so ready, Bree. Like I was I I am not happy just being a mom. Like, I know it's a horrible thing to say,
No, not at
but
all.
like I said before our interview, I have nothing to hide. I am ambitious. I have this entrepreneurial like fire, hunger that needs to be fed. And unfortunately, like just being a mom and those who do it and those who can, power to them. I don't get fed by, just taking care of my family. I was a born entrepreneur. And so when the opportunity did come in April of 2013, I jumped right on it. And here I am now. we're May 2015. And because I was kind of thrown in sort of before I was ready, I was just concentrating on my client work and just doing that. I did nothing with my site, my blog, no writing, no speaking. And so just now in 2015, I decided like, I need to start building my business. I need to start doing stuff for myself to be building my base because I had too many eggs in one basket. And so, so I'm having a lot of fun. I'm starting a podcast in 2 weeks, and I'm, just getting back. I feel like I'm getting back into that rhythm.
Right. You know what I love? I mean, I loved a lot of what you're saying. But one thing that I find interesting is the fact that you kept, even though you weren't utilizing it, you kept your domain.
Oh, you must.
Right. You kept, and is that the CristinaFavreau.com? Is that the one you kept? Your main?
So that's rule number one. Even for parents, I'm telling you, parents, for your kids, buy their names for domain names. That is valuable real estate. And that's just the reality of the world that we live in now, where everything is online. And so do your kids a favor and buy their names, domain names. So right from the beginning, I even before I knew I was going to have a business, I bought CristinaFavreau.com because I'm in Canada. I bought .ca. And because I have a different spelling of my name, so I don't have an H in my name, I bought Cristina with an H.
Right.
Because if you hear CristinaFavreau.com, chances are you're going to type CHRI. So I have CristinaFavreau.com with an H and .ca as well.
Okay, that's perfect. I considered buying my daughter's website, or not her website, buying her name as a domain. But then I was thinking, well, if she gets married, then she wouldn't have that necessarily. So it's kind of like, I don't know. But I think that's a great idea because
it's not an issue here in Quebec. It's not an issue because we don't change our names. So the women keep their maiden name, and I would actually have to pay to take on my husband's name. And so for my kids, my girls anyways, my son, his name obviously won't change if and when he gets married, but my girls as well. In Quebec, the way the law is girls keep their legally, my maiden name it stays with me forever.
Okay, I did not know that. So yeah, of course here, they take the last name, but I think it still would be beneficial to have that. Because she's not going to be married out of high school or, just entering college or anything like that. And who knows what she wants to do. So I think that's really a good point that you made. Now, did you ever work like I don't want to say a typical, but did you ever work like a standard 9-to-5 job?
Yes, I did. So right out of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was really tired of being pressured. Like, you're 16, 17, and you're being asked, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? I wasn't ready to answer that. I wasn't ready to make a decision. And so right out of high school, I knew, and either way, my mom didn't have money, but I didn't want to. Like, I didn't pressure her. I didn't go for scholarships. I didn't apply for anything. I just didn't want to get out of there. And I just knew that because I didn't know what I wanted to do, I just needed to start doing stuff. I just wanted to be making money. And so, a young kid, 17, 18, out of high school, what are the jobs you're going to get? Well, I got cleaning contracts.
Wow.
And so, that was actually really, really, you make a lot of money doing that because it's the kind of job that no one wants to do. At that time, I was 17, 18, I was making $25 an hour to do some cleaning. So I did some offices, some professional. And so one of the offices that I cleaned for, eventually the wife, it was a husband and wife business. She said, you know what, my house cleaner is leaving. Can you clean our house? They had a huge house. I'm like, I hated cleaning, but it's like, I need to make money.
Right.
And I had nothing else. We were in the country and not many opportunities there. So I'm like, sure, I'll take it. I did a little bit of cleaning for her. And then eventually she's like, you know what? I really like a nanny or, someone to take care of our kids while we're working instead of sending them off to daycare. So then I was like, kind of like the household manager. And so I was taking care of the kids. Then when their kids started going to school, this couple hired me. After I would walk their kids to school, I would walk in front of their offices. I would go and work for them. So they hired me as a receptionist, and then they gave me some little accounting, account receivables work.
Yeah.
And it was really cool that, I'm so thankful to this family that they kind of just like would throw things my way. And it's like, oh, you want to do this and you want to do that. And then after I got married, I was very sick of being in the country, small town mentality. And I'm not a country girl. I'm a city girl. I like the convenience. I like the busyness of it.
Yeah.
I kind of like the anonymity too of being in the city where you're it's sad, but you're in the big city and like you're sort of left on your own. So my husband, amazing man that he is, I'm like, honey, I need to get out of the country. He's like, you know what? Find a job in the city and we'll go.
Oh, wow.
So I did. I think whatever the universe or whatever you want to call it, it's just like when you put out, not just in your mind, and I'm not just talking like manifesting, when you tell people what you need. And I was telling people, if you know anyone who would hire me in the city, I'm looking for a job in the city. Within a few weeks, I got a job.
Wow. And it's great that your husband was supportive of that.
Very supportive. Yeah, very supportive. So I had that job. I got in as a receptionist and then up to accounts receivables and this and that. And then I got into a really big company. Bree, I have never made so much money in my life working at this place. It was insane the amount of money I was making. And I'm a really, really good, hard worker. And what I'm going to let you bring the question because I know it's about F the cubicle and how that came about. So I'll let the conversation lead to that.
I'm just going to go right to it. And I do have some questions, so we might backtrack just a little bit. Sure. But you can just tell me right now, sister, what about that high-paying job that you found in the city that was pretty much the job of your dreams financially anyway? What caused you to pretty much say, you know what? F the cubicle, screw this. I'm completely done. I'm out.
Honestly, it took a burnout. I'm a little bit of a workaholic, and I don't say that in a good way. Like some people will say, I'm a perfectionist, like it's a good thing, or I'm a workaholic. I care a lot about the work that I do. And I cared a lot about the people that I was working with.
Right.
I cared a lot about my clients, and my clients really loved me. The service, I learned through that. And like I said, I didn't go to college or university, so I wasn't really sure what I was good at. And so I'm so thankful that this kind of evolution of these jobs that I got taught me that even though I didn't go to, a higher education, like I was still valuable, because I think we kind of get that feeling that, and I still deal with it. Honestly, Bree, like I'll tell you, sometimes I get like the imposter syndrome, like what the heck am I doing? I have no acronyms after my name. I didn't go to any prestigious school or anything, but the act of doing and just trying different things taught me that, like, customer service, I am kick-ass at customer service. I care about how the company that I'm working for or the company that I'm representing, how it looks to others. And if their clients are not happy, then my company looks bad, the company that I'm working for. And I really did consider it my company.
Right.
And my manager was amazing. My the office manager, my higher up manager, amazing. The team that I was working with were amazing. However, corporate, okay, the corporate, like the big beast that is corporate, would keep putting up our quotas, would keep cutting our bonuses. We would get less and less spiffs is what we called them. They were like, bonuses for achieving whatever. And so I'm working just as hard and you're paying me less because the shareholders have to be kept happy. That, Brie, for me, when I understood, I didn't understand corporate life and everything. It's just like, I got a job, I'm getting paid. That's all I care. And then you start understanding how corporate, the corporate culture works. And I have to keep shareholders happy.
Yep.
They've never met me before. They don't know me. And I'm working hard to line their pockets.
Yep.
That was kind of like, I had a major shift. And I was working, I had the keys to the office because I would be the first one in, last one out. The last day of the month, I was working really hard with the software team to get like licensing and everything done. And basically one Saturday morning, obviously we had no kids or anything. It was just the two of us, my husband and I. And one Saturday morning, I woke up and I'm like, I could not get out of bed. I couldn't move. I had this like thing in my stomach and it was like my entire body was just immobile.
Wow.
And so, I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. And like a week turned into 2 weeks and 3 weeks and tests. And I don't even want to go through that. It was like crazy, doctors and this and that. And, it's like, obviously you're thinking, great, I got cancer. I got, I have, some sort of inoperable, whatever, 6 months of being asked by doctors, like, are you sure it's like not in your head? And like doctors would take my husband aside and say like, is she really like doing this for attention or whatever? I took a short-term sick leave for that. Thankfully, I had that on my side, a short-term sick leave with my work. But when it came time for the short-term sick leave, like I had to make a decision. Do I want to go into long-term sick leave? And I told my husband, I'm like, you know what? Like my whole life, I've wanted to have my business. My whole life, I knew when I was a little girl, Brie, that I was going to be my own boss. I was going to do my own thing. I knew that. I don't know why. I wish I could remember what age I was and exactly what that moment was. It might have been seeing my dad working for someone else, working so hard. I don't remember what it was, but I told my husband, I'm like, we have no kids. We live in an apartment. We made an insane amount of money that we just would blow on restaurants and clothes and toys. Like, really, this is what I want to do. If I go back working there for the man, I'm going to be sick again.
Yeah.
So my husband, he saw physically what it did to me. And so he was all for it. And I took 9 months. I live in an amazing country that supports entrepreneurs. And because I was young, I think 26, there was a program that would allow you to continue your employment benefits. So even though my short-term sick leave was over, I was able to extend it for another 9 months with this particular program. It was called How to Launch Your Business or something like that. And then when I came out in October, I had my first paying client and like the rest is history.
Wow. That's a lot.
I know. I'm sorry. I rambled.
No, I'm not saying you rambled. That was just a lot. Like so many key things there, from the fact that you always knew as a child, as a young kid, you knew for a fact, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want my own business. I want to do my own thing. Yeah. And then the fact that your job literally was killing you.
Yeah,
in some capacity, it was killing you.
If I had continued, I don't know where I'd be today.
And then also plus the whole corporate plan and how you're basically, yes, I get it. It's a business and business is about income and bringing in money for the business. I get that completely. But just the fact that when it comes down to the worker bees, which is what we were or what we are, I don't want to say that our needs don't necessarily matter or our concerns or things like that. But ultimately, it's just about the bottom line and keeping the bigger people, the higher ups happy, making sure their pockets are getting lined as effectively as possible, even if that means the people that are bringing you the money, like those corporate people could not come to your desk, Cristina, and do your job and do your job well. They probably wouldn't even know 10% of what you do on a day-to-day basis and how you function throughout the day and how you get things done. But yet you're making the money for them. And that to me, it just never made complete sense. Like, I'm doing all the work and yes, I'm getting paid, but realistically, I'm doing all the work and I'm the reason why you're making all this money. I'm the reason why your profits are going up. And like, for example, with my job, which is so funny because I'm still at my 9 to 5. I think I told you that, but I'm working on my exit plan. My 9 to 5, I make decent money. However, like when it's time for raises, because I'm at my cap, quote unquote, like I think it was a year ago or 2 years ago, I can't remember now, but in the last couple of years, of course, review time came around. And they want you to fill out this elaborate review when they know good and well that you are not getting a raise. Why do I need to waste my time writing a review and reviewing myself on how I do this and how I do that, when you know good and well, even though you may grade me as she's a great employee, I get nothing for that. So I think 1 year I didn't get a raise at all. And then the year after that, because they knew that I was upset, I got like I think it was like a 20-cent raise or 23 cents. And I'm just like, seriously? Really? 20 cents or 23 cents? And and the way my boss...
That's what I'm worth.
Exactly.
You know, I'm worth 20 cents more. Yeah, it's totally ridiculous.
Or excuse me, it might have been 23 cents or something like that. So yes, I completely get it. So what you said really is, it's really not relating, or I guess I'm really relating with what you're saying. It feels like our stories are very identical in some regard. So I'm absolutely feeling what you're saying. Now, let's go back just a little bit. So when you first, not in the last couple of years, but before that, when you were doing it initially, when you first started and you knew you were going to do your business, what were some of the basic tools and supplies that you needed to just start right away? And, and what were some of your first few, I guess, steps in starting your business?
Well, like I said, I always knew that I was going to start a business. I wanted to work from home. I'm a homebody. And I've come to realize that only in the last couple of years, I'm actually an introvert stuck in an extrovert's body. I'm gregarious, outgoing, but really like I feel safe, in my environment. And I'm happy to connect with, I need connection. I need to connect with people. So I knew this about myself. And I knew part of, my work experience that far was totally off for me. I could never be a salesperson ever. I could not be an external salesperson. It would just it's not for me. And so for years, since as long as I can remember in my, early adult life, even in high school, starting in high school, looking to like, what's that thing that I can do? Because you hear of people working from home,
right?
More today than then, right? So I graduated in 1993. So then it was still, it was still, not so much. And so I got into a lot of like network marketing, Avon and Tupperware and, Melaleuca and all these other things. And they're great companies. But again, the model is based on getting out of your house. Right. And making sales.
You have to make connections and sales. Yeah.
Yeah. You make the sales. And then not only do you make the sale, then you have to go out and deliver. So that was like totally not for me. Mm-hmm. And while I was on my sick leave, I was constantly on the internet, just looking like legitimate work at home business. That's what I was looking for. And, you find the mail stuffing and the, a lot of shady things, list some things on Craigslist and all these things. And, you have the eBay, and it's not, it's not what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to offer a service because I did know my strength was customer service.
Mm-hmm.
And then I finally came up to this term in my search, virtual assistant.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, great. It's just another scam. It's not possible that you can, at that point I had kind of lost hope of, it's impossible unless I go back to school or something to actually be able to, be a consultant or something.
Right.
So I did more research. I found the IVAA, the International Virtual Assistant Association. I found a Canadian, the CVAN, I think it's, or CAVA. Anyways, there's a couple of different ones. And I'm like, okay, they're actual organizations that represent this particular field of work. And I did more and more research. I'm like, I could do this. I can totally do this. And so when it came time for me to go into my program, the Starting a Business program, it basically, the premise of this program is to help you build your business plan. Mm-hmm. And so I went in there knowing that my business plan was going to be about a virtual assistant business. So I was really, really glad. It took me years to find that thing.
Right.
Which, I mean, virtual assistant is still a very vague, and very large, all-encompassing title. Mm-hmm. But that's how it started.
Okay, awesome. And so now you've started. When did you know that you wanted to be a podcaster? And tell me about the 2 podcasts. Not only do you have 1 podcast, which is daunting enough, but you are venturing into the world of 2 or multiple podcasts. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
So I like to say I started podcasting before I knew what podcasting was. Mm-hmm. When I had my kids, especially after my second. So my daughter, and this is totally for another show. I gave birth to my daughter all alone on my bathroom floor.
Oh my goodness.
It was not a planned home birth.
Right.
My husband had left to bring my son to daycare, and within 15 minutes she was born.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was crazy. But that event, Bree, was life-changing. That was a life-changing moment. And again, I can go on and on about that. That's like for a whole other show or a totally different show.
Right.
But what I learned is that I have all I need. And so I started a business called Mompowerment, where I wanted to coach other moms. I quickly learned that moms, not only they don't have money, they don't have time for coaching. And it was a really, really tough sell. But I had started during that time to kind of record myself on my computer. Mm-hmm. And I was posting audio posts on my blog, and people were loving them, absolutely loving them. At that time, there was no Libsyn, there was no audio host. I was just hosting it onto my WordPress,
right,
onto my WordPress site. But again, when I took my kids out, I stopped everything. I shut that down because I knew I wasn't going to probably not continue with Mompowerment. Then when I came back into work in April of 2013, my client actually said, I want to start a podcast. Can you help me? And so for me, it was like a pleasure, total pleasure to do that. But again, 2015, it's my turn. So I tried the video thing, which is great. I think connecting on video, Google Hangouts or webinars or recorded video is fine. I'm just crazy animated. I'm really holding myself back here. I have ADHD, and on my hand, when I talk and I get excited and my face does all these things.
Yeah.
And editing video for someone like myself is a pain in the butt because I'm so all over the place, and I couldn't cut somewhere where I wanted to cut. So I'm like, well, audio, because I do have an animated voice, and when I do get excited, it comes out in my voice. And when I'm smiling, you can hear it. So that's perfect for me. That's perfect for podcasting. I know that about myself. And so yeah, I decided I want to start podcasting. I wanted to start a podcast that there was no show about before. I'm a marketing junkie, and I thought it would be really fun to have a podcast about marketing, but there's tons of those. And I don't want it to be, tips and tricks, because you're listening to a podcast. You want to be entertained. You want to hear stories. And so I figured I want a podcast that I wish I had. So I have ADHD. I am super uber ambitious, like sometimes more than is even good for me. And I am not ashamed of my ADHD. I don't use it as an excuse. I don't use it as a crutch. I don't hide behind the label, say, oh, well, it's not my fault. I have ADHD. That's why I did that. No, it's, you know what? My brain works differently. And if you're looking for someone to help you clearly compartmentalize, maybe if you're looking for programs or ideas, or if you have a service inside of you, but you're not sure what it is, like, I'm the person to talk to, because my brain is able to take whatever you send me, and I'm able to put it into little boxes in my brain. That's my ADHD superpower. I don't hear enough people talking about their ADHD superpower. I'm on a lot of these different Facebook groups for either women with ADHD or just like regular ADHD groups. And everyone is just always like bitching and moaning about how they suck because they forgot their keys again, or how their husband is upset because they didn't make supper on time, or because, I'll just never learn to put on my, it's like, just quit complaining.
Right.
And if you're sick of the mess in your house, do something about it. It'll never be perfect. I'm not a perfectionist. I do not aim for perfection. It is not a goal for me. But I want the positive side of ADHD. And for me, the connection to the entrepreneurial world, because that's who I am. I did want to tie into my business. So my podcast is called Head On. It's for the ambitious woman with ADHD who is proud and who knows she does well in her business because of her ADHD, not in spite of it. So that's where the idea came from.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that podcast specifically. A little more insight into what it was for and who it was for. I know you said it's for ambitious women with ADHD. And is that the one that you are starting in very soon, or is it the other podcast that you run for?
No, so that's Head On Podcast.
Yes.
So that's the one that's for ADHD women. I'm also working on a joint. I'll be a co-host, and so I'm more of a supporting role in this particular podcast. It's called Super Socialize Me with Grant Crowell, and it's about how to ethically and how to use netiquette basically in online and digital communication. So I'm very, very excited about that.
Awesome. Now, one thing, because I always like to we talk about different things here, but one thing I definitely want to talk to you about is, was there a time during all your time as an entrepreneur where you had, I don't necessarily call it an epic fail, but was there something that happened that I guess you can consider a fail, but you learned a lesson from it that really helped to push you on in business?
Epic fail. I like to see those as lessons. I don't think I had any, if it was epic, I'm not aware of it. But definitely taking on clients that are not really right for you, but you're taking them because I felt desperate at the time, or I don't know. I didn't listen to my gut. Those usually that's what happens is I will go into something and my gut is saying, oh, there's something, just not right here. And so, yeah, I've had a couple of clients like that were super micro managers. And I get the need for someone who has a need for micromanaging should not hire a virtual assistant because I'm an independent business owner. I'm working. If you're successful, my job is to make you as successful as possible. Why? Right. So that I can get more business.
Right.
I'm not an employee. An employee, I'm going to work my hours because that's what I'm paid to do.
Right.
But ask me to go above and beyond that. Well, are you going to pay me overtime? Because what's in it for me? So in that case, yeah, I understand the need to micromanage. It's like, look, I'm paying you to be here. You better be doing your work.
Right.
Whereas as a virtual assistant, like, don't try to micromanage me. It's not the right situation. And so not listening to my gut, that's sort of where it goes on that side. There's also the bright, shiny object syndrome. 2014, unfortunately, I got very stuck in the bright, shiny object syndrome and spent a little bit more on programs. I was kind of looking for my thing. What is that thing, that niche, that specialty? And so I spent a little bit more too much on programs than I should have. In my gut, I knew I wouldn't enjoy it, or it just wasn't my thing. And then finally, when I was talking to my coach, I'm like, you know what? I love podcasting. I love podcasting. I've loved it since before I knew what podcasting was.
Yes, I love that.
So why don't I just help other entrepreneurs get their podcasts up and running? So that's, I wouldn't say that's an epic fail. I didn't,
right. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, not listening to my gut.
Oh gosh, that is so huge, because I've dealt with that before. And I was just on Periscope kind of talking about that, how you need to, first of all, follow your instinct, or listen to you get that gut check, and you just kind of know that this is probably not either the client or the situation that's going to serve me well. When we first start up, I've had the same thing. In startup, you are kind of like, oh my God, somebody wants to work with me. Okay, let me try to help them. And then of course you have that client that comes in and says, oh, Bree, okay, or Cristina, your services, your packages, I don't know, $1,500 for the package, or whatever the case may be, but I only have $500. So what service can you provide for me with the 500? And I've done that before, and the times that I've done it, I've yet to have a successful time that it's like, okay, I took less and it still worked out fine, because they are, if not micromanaging, but they want to know what you're doing and when is this going to be done. They'll follow up 50 million times a day. Or you'll do something one way, and then they'll go in and say, oh, but I want it the other way, and change this and change that. I mean, it's just a lot of back and forth, where had you followed your gut, or had I followed my gut, I would have never had that person as a client to begin with. But it's like a lesson learned. So that for me is like a fail. Like, and when I say fail, I don't mean in a negative sense, I guess. It's not really in a negative sense. It's just something like I failed at it and I learned from it. Like, going forward, now this is the
exactly. Right. When someone haggles on price, usually that is, to me, a red flag, like right away.
Sure.
And
for sure.
You can look at, maybe consider their sincerity. If they, sincerely, but never offer the same service for a lower price. I mean, that is just, you're setting yourself up. I mean, you are just totally setting yourself up.
Absolutely.
But yeah, if they're no, it's like, sorry, there's, for me anyways, there's like virtual assistants that are, hire someone from the Philippines for $5 an hour. Like, if that's what you want, because that's not what I offer.
Right.
I'm becoming your partner. And so I am investing myself in your business.
Right.
The amount of time that I'm going to learn about your business and learn and yourself too. You're doing branding. You got to learn so much about what's going on the inside and the personality. Well, that takes time. That takes like brain power. That doesn't come for free.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with you completely. So lesson learned for me. Absolutely. Now, what would you tell someone that's in a startup stage, in regards to, I guess, or I should ask you this, let me back up. What's the one tool, if you had to just use one tool, and I think I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. If there was only one tool that you could use to market yourself, to market your brand, to market your business, what tool would that be? Or what platform would you use?
I like social media because it's free. The problem with social media is at the end of the day, you don't own it.
Right.
So I mean, to me, really the most important thing is you need your some sort of website. And even if you go look at my website, you'll see my blog has not been updated since I went on hiatus. Honestly, I've not updated my blog, but my site is there. If people need to get a hold of me, my email is there. You know how to get a hold of me. You get to see the articles that I've written in the past. I mean, my philosophy on marketing has not changed. My passion has not changed. And so that all remains there on my website. Whereas, Facebook can change their algorithm whenever they want, and then people are not going to be reading my posts. Right. So I don't recommend spending a lot of time building your platform on social media. Yes, you want to build your audience. You want to build engagement. You want to build that know, like, and trust factor for sure. But you need to have a place that's your own. That is your home. Right. And that is your site. And so your domain name, to me, that is number one. You need your domain name, whether you have enough money for hosting or not. And I do understand it's an expense. It's very reasonable. I mean, to have a website is to me, it is a no-brainer. Right. If you can't afford $130 a year to have your host, then maybe you need to build yourself a nest egg or something, because to me, that is the most important thing. But definitely you need to be visible. And so with all these new things, there's Clamor, there's Periscope, there's the standard, the Facebook, the Twitters, Google Plus, LinkedIn. You do need to be on these places. You need to be engaging, but choose maybe two, because I mean, there is too much. It's too much. Find out where your target audience is hanging out and hang out there, and screw the rest, because it's too much.
Yes, you're so right about that. When I first started, I tried to be here, there, and everywhere, and it just wasn't possible.
You're spreading yourself too thin.
Yes. So I've kind of had to let some things go, and just focus on the main things that, number one, I enjoy, and number two, where people that I want to connect with and I want to introduce myself to, where they're hanging out and doing their thing, and I can try to build relationships that way. So that, for me, initially I'm going to do 15 tweets a day on Twitter, and then I'm going to do 5 posts a day on Instagram, and I'm going to update my Facebook page, and I'm going to, it's just it's a lot. You can be on your computer from sun up to sundown, and you still wouldn't feel like it was enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because there's more to marketing than just social media. And I think people don't realize that when you're a business owner, your job is marketing. Your number one job is marketing. You're a marketer. I'm not a virtual assistant, even though that's, the label or podcast or whatever that is. My job is marketing. Because if no one knows that I'm a virtual assistant, if no one knows about my podcast, I have no business. Right. And so you need to learn to love marketing. That is my message to the world. And marketing is fun. I love marketing. What's your favorite? I just said favorite. What is your favorite? What is your favorite? Ay. What is your most favorite part of marketing in your brand, would you say? My favorite part of marketing is, to me, I'm a connector. I love to connect. In my brain, I love to connect things. If you're going to tell me, look, I have all these different ideas, my brain is already starting to make connections of who you can start helping, who you can work with to help build that, who can maybe be a couple of clients or a couple of referrals I can send your way. So to me, my favorite part is to be connecting with people. And if I just remember that I'm here to serve, and I know that's so cliche. I can't believe I just said that, actually. Hey, because it's true. But it's, it's cliche, but it's more than just, oh, I love to serve. It's honestly and truly, if I was not paid for what I do, I would do it anyways. That doesn't mean I'll do it for free, people. I'm just telling you that. But that's how much I love what I do. And so to me, the connection, like connecting with real people and finding out the story behind, Bree, how did you start F the Cubicle? I mean, to me, that's like, I love those stories. So yeah, marketing to me is connecting and getting your personality. And I used to have this expression of like, it's real person marketing. Like, I don't care if people know I have ADHD. It's part of who I am.
Yes.
It's part of what makes me amazing. I have 3 kids. My business has changed as I had kids. Before I was like out 24/7. I'm available anytime for anyone, any time zone. I can do a presentation. I could last minute be on a telesummit. I made myself available that way because that was important for me to connect in that way.
Right.
And now it's like, okay, so now I'm a mom. So I have to kind of wrap up my day at 3 o'clock because then I got kids running around in the background and I won't be able to concentrate. So I have, I'm a real person and I'm connecting with other real people. I want to know what that real story is. Don't tell me, the cliche, oh, I want to serve. No, like, why do you want to serve?
For sure. So it's diving deeper into that and not just on the surface, you know what I mean? Just saying, oh, I just like to help people, or, because you hear that all the time, but it's like, in what way and how?
In what way? Why? Like, why do you want to help people? Why is that important to you?
Right.
To me, it feeds my entrepreneurial spirit. And for me, it's about teaching a lesson to my kids that you look for opportunities, And it doesn't mean, you go on a Facebook group and you promote yourself like crazy, because people are going to hate you.
Yes,
for doing that.
Sure. Yeah.
So stop that, people. Just stop and start connecting. You hear someone, hey, I have a question about this. Answer it. I will often, if I'm on Facebook groups, or especially like Freedom Hackers, I like hanging out on the Freedom Hackers group. People will ask for help. And if I have time, I'll say, you know what, I have like 10 minutes. You want to jump on Skype? I'm not doing a clarity call. I'm not doing a discovery session to try to sell you on anything. It's like, it sounds like you're struggling with something. I'm here to help. I know that I have I'm a good sounding board. And so if you want to bounce some stuff off me, I'm available. I have nothing to sell.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that a lot of groups do that with the clarity call or the discovery call, etc. And I think that people have good intentions, but you can tell that some of them are just self-serving, like, hey, look at me. This is what I can do.
Well, that's the point, right? The point of the clarity call is to get enough information about the person to see if you can help them eventually. And so, there is a process. I understand the concept, of having a clarity call, discovery call, whatever, an initial session or whatever. It's to eventually sell. But if I'm sincerely asking a question, and I'm just looking for an answer, and you say, oh, let's get on and have a clarity call. It's like, I didn't say I'm looking for a coach. If you can't help me, then I get that, and if I'm looking for a coach, I will say I'm looking for a coach, and I want that. And I'm going off on a tangent. So
no, you're fine. You are completely fine. I love it.
Coaches deserve to be paid. Coaches,
for sure,
paid for what they do. Absolutely. But at some point, it's like, it can't just be a pitch fest all the time. Yeah.
And that's the issue that I have too, it being a pitch fest. Absolutely. Now, with all that you have going on, Cristina, again, wife, mother, the podcast, the website, the blogging, the business, everything that you do, I'm sure there are days that are phenomenal, and I'm sure there are days that are just so super busy. You may just want to rip your hair out, but how do you, with everything that you have going on, like, how do you stay focused and motivated to keep, doing what you're doing? When you're having that rough day, what keeps you focused and motivated on those tough days?
You're funny, because I have ADHD, and focus is what I struggle with.
You got me.
Focus definitely is a big issue with me, because our brains are kind of going a million miles a minute. And there is that, I think all entrepreneurs have the bright, shiny object syndrome. I mean, as a marketer, it's important to know what's up and coming. If you don't know about Periscope, you better find out what Periscope is all about,
Oh, for
because
sure.
I think it's the next big thing right
Oh,
now.
for sure. It's huge.
To connect with people in like real time. It's incredible. I haven't yet tapped into that yet. I just started yesterday periscoping, not periscoping. I haven't actually periscoped yet, but I see the potential in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the potential is incredible. And for me, connection, as I've said, is so important. And I think Periscope is a really good, for me, a good avenue for that. But yeah, I definitely struggle with focus. You need to find a system that works for you. Mm-hmm. And so I'm old school pen and paper. And so I have, my agenda, and I talk about this a lot on my podcast. I might have like a little bit of OCD going on, like in tangent with my my ADD. Mm-hmm. But this agenda is, if it's not here, like it doesn't exist. And like I tell my husband, for groceries, oh, we don't have bread. It's like, no, write it on the list. If it's not on the list, it doesn't exist. That is my system. And I'm looking up here because I've just recently found a system that works for me. I have this whiteboard here, and I've color coded it because I'm very visual. ADD people, if you're visual, whether you have ADD or not, I know I'm visual, and I have assigned each client a different Post-it note color. And so as soon as someone says, I need this done, it goes on the color Post-it note it needs, and it goes on my board. When I'm done, I have the satisfaction of taking that Post-it note off and crumbling it up and throwing it in the garbage. To me, because I have ADD, and I know I struggle with focus, and I struggle with procrastination, and some of the less fun things that I do them because I serve my clients this way, but there are some things that I do that are not as fun. So you just got to find a system that works for you. And right now my agenda is what keeps me on track, and my whiteboard.
I love that, because I think everyone can relate to that satisfying crunch, or that satisfying rip.
Checking it off,
Yes.
If you have, Asana or Evernote or whatever, like, just to be able to cross that off and it's done. Like, I've done that, I can move on to the next thing. It's very
accomplished. You feel accomplished, like you've gotten, even if it's one thing off your list, sometimes that's all you need to kind of give you that boost kind of give you back that self-confidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, what would you say, Cristina, is like your number one rule in business that you swear by? Like, what's one rule that you just swear by that really serves you well in business?
Again, I hate using cliches, but it's like just being real and open. I don't really have anything to hide. And part of my ADHD is kind of like, I'm not a super like far ahead thinker. So I live very much like in the now. And so I'm intense, I'll react in the now. And so just, if I'm tired, and it's a trap. It could be a trap, I'll tell you, because you don't want to be negative. If I'm having a bad day, I want to be posting on Facebook that I'm having a horrible day and how horrible I'm feeling, or if I'm PMSing this week. But really just kind of laying it all out on the line, and this is who I am, this is how I am. And I kind of live by that philosophy of, I'm an open book. Those people who have nothing to hide nothing. And yeah, I do keep some private things private, and I won't be telling my kids' names on the internet and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I have boundaries around there. And it's, for me, marketing. Like, you are a marketer, and so you need to love marketing, and you need to find a way of telling people what you do over and over again, because that's what marketing is. Marketing is telling people what you do over and over again. And so finding different ways of getting people, telling people what it is that you do in a non-pushy way is what works. And another philosophy that I live and die by is, you do what you can with what you have. And so look at what someone else is doing. Oh, they have, these programs and this and that, and they have all sorts of free opt-ins, and oh, their design is so awesome and cool. I need to get a copywriter. I need to get a graphic designer. I need to get a this. I need to get a that. It's like, just do what you have with what you do what you can with what you have at the moment.
Right.
And then when you know better, you do better. That's kind of like an Oprah thing, right? When you know better, you do better, but just do something. Just do.
Yeah. I love that. Gosh, so many takeaways just from that statement alone, because, well, first of all, I believe that things will fall into place as you start taking the initiative to move forward. Nothing's going to fall in your lap. Nothing's going to start happening until you start taking action. And we get so bogged down in, like you said, so let's say I've never met you and I'm outside looking in and I want to be a podcaster or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, I stumble upon your website, Cristina Favreau. Oh, wow, look at, she's doing this and she's doing that. Look at her website. It's so well designed. And wow, her branding colors are gorgeous. And her website looks so professional. And she's already interviewed Oprah and, all these people. When you're starting up, it's not going to be that for you. And you will be stuck in procrastination station forever, tweaking and changing and correcting and changing your pictures and changing your copy. Oh, this font doesn't quite look right. I mean, in other words, worrying about, of course you want it to look professional and the best that you can do for now. If you have the money to have someone take care of all that for you, great. Pass it off and let them professionally do it and send it back to you so you can start. Or if you don't, just do it the best you can and release it.
Yeah.
Don't
good
hold
enough
on to
has
it.
to be good enough.
It's not like it's something you can't change down the line. Who knows? A year from now, you could have had so much success just from being who you are and people being drawn to that. People understand what a startup is. They know that, you know what I mean? That, okay, she's in startup phase. As long as I can take her at her word, I know that she's reliable. I know that she's not going to run off with my money and she's going to do the job that I paid her to do. People understand that, but they have to know the real you to be okay with that.
Exactly. Yeah. That's my whole point of coming out and just being like totally honest. It's like, yeah, I'm not the best. And I will tell my clients, like, I have ADHD. And so because of that, like I have a system that's integrated into my entire client process where we have either weekly or bi-weekly check-ins.
Right.
And I don't charge clients for that time because I know I need that. I'm a kind of a feedback junkie and I need that check-in.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if it's not on the list, it doesn't exist. If it's not constantly in my face. So definitely you need to be, if you have like the passion and you are completely upfront about how you're doing things. It's like, hey, I'm just starting off. You know what? My podcast, the first episode that's going to come out will probably suck. The sound level, I'm sure, will not be a like awesome sound level. I got this awesome mic, which is great, which is going to help a lot. But I'm still learning how to put in my intro music and my outro music. And when you listen to episode 25 and you listen back to episode 1, but my message, I'm still coming from, a great amount of passion. And so I'm hoping that passion and the message and the what I want to bring out in my podcast is going to make up for any sort of technical, it's never going to be a serial. It's never going to be a startup podcast. It's never going to be that. And so I don't aspire to that, to that level of podcasting, but it's like, I need to just put it out because if I wait until I would be at, episode 25, I'm going to be at episode 1 when I could be at episode 25. So at some point you have to release it. You just got to go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I struggled with that myself, and it's never going to be perfect. I'm sure even like the top marketers and entrepreneurs and brands, for them looking at their own stuff, they probably feel like it's not perfect and how can I make this better? You'll never stop asking yourself that question. Difference, of course, because it's like as you grow, you learn. So like you said, I love that what you said, like where I am in episode 1, which I'm still a fabulous person, by the way, but where I am in episode 1, compared to where I'll be in episode 25. Do you know how much growth you'll have between here and here? Oh my gosh. So,
Exactly.
okay, so the sound's not perfect. So what? I mean, or you
The
don't have
content is going to be there. So it's the same
yeah.
thing if you have your opt-in or, your first ebook or whatever, if the content is full on, like if you're giving 100% of quality,
Mhm.
not even, it's the quality of content versus the design
Right.
is not important.
Right.
It's not
Absolutely.
as important because people will see it could be the most beautiful ebook and can have the most beautiful website and spend millions, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on a website, but the content sucks. What's the
What's the
point?
point? Oh, yeah, exactly. There is no point. It's just something pretty to look at. People are gonna say,
Exactly.
oh, that's nice, and
And
move
you're not
on.
going to build a community. Whereas if you go the other way around, it's like, this is what I have to offer. And this is like 100% content. This is 100%, pure useful stuff that you can use. And so what, the delivery method, it's doesn't matter.
I think people love that. Just seeing where you are, seeing that you are just coming from a real place and where you are right now, and not putting on airs and trying to be or do something that you're not or be something that you're not. I think people can relate to that more, and it just, I don't know. At least for me, it just makes me love that person even more. I want to hear what they have to say because they're coming from a real place, and
Yeah.
it's not about all the bells and whistles. I've listened. I'm a big podcast listener, probably too much, and there are some podcasts out there. They're super produced and they have 75 commercials before they even get to the content. I am so turned off by that. And it's like, I want to hear what they have to say because definitely they have that value. But if I have to fast forward through 75 commercials or whatever,
Yeah.
the sponsored whatevers or whatnot, and they have all this stuff going on, and I can't really relate to that. And so sometimes I'll just kind of tune out, or I'll just find someone else, and they've kind of lost
Exactly.
me. So
Yeah.
I know you mentioned before how you have ADHD and how you can just kind of be like, whoa, blah, blah, blah. I love that about you. I do. And I would hope that you would never change because it just makes you more, you're a person. You're not just a brand. You're not just a face, a business. You're a person. I can relate to you.
Well, and not just that, if you're putting on airs or whatever, like I know if I'm upfront and I'm very upfront about my weaknesses and about where my failings, I have I have no problem. I don't want to, put a lot of, and I'm not going to put that on my webpage. Hey, did you know I screwed up like a big client project the other day because I forgot to do whatever? But I know my weaknesses enough, and I know my strengths enough. And what happens is if people are like, oh, she has ADHD, no, she's too flaky or whatever. She's, whatever stereotype, like we're just not a good fit anyway. So I'd rather just get it out there from the get-go.
Right.
You know who I am. And if you don't like me now, you're not going to like me later.
Right. Just get it out there, out in the open, and it is what it is. Either you work with me or you don't. You like what I have to offer, or you don't.
Yeah. And if you don't, that's fine, because there's someone out there for you.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. There are people that are just waiting to find you, and they're going to love you for who you are and what you can do and what value you have. So that's perfect. Now we're going to be wrapping this up, and I know that you mentioned before that it's hard for you to say what you'll be doing 6 months from now or a year from now, but not necessarily 5 years from now or whatever, but where do you kind of see your future, or what direction do you kind of see your future headed as a brand?
I don't know, actually.
Yeah.
I'm a go with the flow kind of person. I'm very, very passionate about podcasting. And I realize because it's kind of, I have ADD and I do have this like a bright, shiny object syndrome. But I know that because podcasting, before I even knew what podcasting was, 6 years ago, that passion is always been there. And I kind of forgot or ignored it. And I kept getting into the, video marketing and, what's the latest, greatest thing that's going on now. So I would hope that, I would evolve in at least the world of, I've always enjoyed broadcasting. I listen to AM talk radio, because I like hearing stories.
Yeah.
I like hearing, and I like arguing with the person. It's like, what, I'll be arguing with the person on the radio saying, what are you doing saying that? I enjoy that, that environment. And I always have, I have, since as long as I can remember. So, I have a feeling that my business will evolve along whatever online, whatever digital broadcasting or whatever broadcasting, wherever that leads us into the future. It's a part of letting people know who you are. It should technically be part of your marketing strategy, which means, no sponsors. Marketing is an investment. And so you're investing in your business. And if you have sponsors, great, fine. But again, if it's like a commercial fest, if I'm just going to be like listening to commercials instead of the content that I came to listen to, I'm just a strong believer in that. And I'm an advocate for ADHD. Very, very passionate about that. My son has ADHD. I consider myself more ADD without the hyperactivity. And probably my youngest daughter does as well. And so I'd like to keep on that. I mean, ADHD is always, I believe, is always going to be here. And so just continuing being an advocate, and like, this is ADHD. I'm not stupid. I might lose my words. I might lose my train of thought, but I'm an intelligent human being. I'm not less of a person because of this, this label or whatever. So yeah, I do see myself kind of going along that side, and I'm always open to bettering myself, learning new things. So 5 years is kind of very hard for me to see, but definitely within the next 6 months to a year, any online broadcasting, any sort of digital broadcasting is where my heart is right now.
Okay, perfect. And one other thing I wanted to ask you that I should have asked you earlier, but it totally slipped my mind. Do you work one-on-one with people in any part of your business?
Yes. So I do. Well, all my clients are one-on-one, right? I'm a virtual assistant. So I have a one client, and so I work with them. I also do like brainstorming and not really strategy sessions. I'm not much of a strategist, but definitely if you need like brainstorming, or if people have like, I know I have an info product inside of me. I just don't know, what do I offer for free? What should be my opt-in? What should be my big program? And so I do one-on-one coaching on that side. Eventually, I will get back into my Get Clients Now program, which is a group program. It's so much fun. It's a program that teaches you how to love marketing. And I'm a huge advocate for that. And I'm going to plug a book. I have no affiliate with this. I mean, it's a book. Go get it on Amazon. I have no, affiliate with them. The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. You need to read that book. It is old school marketing, and it has not changed. Like a lot of old school strategies, it hasn't changed. And I forgot your question. I know I went off on a tangent.
No, I knew that you were a VA. You answered my question.
I worked one-on-one.
I meant more in the coaching capacity. So
yeah, yes. Definitely more one-on-one. I haven't started any group programs since coming out of my hiatus. I used to do a lot of them, but I haven't done any recently. Okay.
So before we wrap up, can you let our Cubicle converts know how they can reach you, like what your website is again, which is there, but just in case, and how they can reach you?
Sure. So my main website is CristinaFavreau.com. Again, I'm just getting back into building it, but you can see, I mean, I have years and years. I think I have like 3 or 4 years of articles just on marketing, and that hasn't changed because again, old school like the marketing concepts, a concept of getting someone to know who you are, know, like, and trust you has not changed. The tools have changed. Technology has changed, but the concepts have not changed. Being a real person, being real upfront, being, telling your story, talking to as many people as you can, and that hasn't changed. So those articles are there on CristinaFavreau.com. I have my podcast website, which is headonpodcast.com, which tells you a little bit more about the podcast. I will obviously, once the podcast goes live, I'll be having the directory of episodes there, how to be a guest, how to submit questions, submit topic suggestions. I hang out mostly on Facebook and Twitter. And so if you look either for Head On Podcast on either one of those, or Cristina Favreau on Twitter, or Cristina Favreau VA on Facebook, that's where I hang out most of the time. And yeah, I'm always open for a good conversation. And you tell me, hey, what's your opinion on this? I will probably and fully expect me to say, hey, you want to get on Skype and just like talk it out?
I love that. I love that you're so open and personable. That's one thing that definitely drew me to you. And I think I said that before. So in case you missed that, you can reach her at CristinaFavreau.com. She also has headonpodcast.com, just like it's up there in the banner on the screen. On Twitter, it's Cristina Favreau. And then on Facebook, it's Cristina Favreau VA on Facebook, correct?
That's right.
Okay, perfect. And is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up? Any word of advice? One last word of advice.
Well, the definition of insanity is something that I really try to remember is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's the definition of insanity. So if you keep doing something and it's not working, like stop and try something else. And like, don't be afraid to just throw everything out and brainstorm. Definitely connect with people. You cannot build a business. You're in a vacuum. You need to get out there and ask people, and don't be afraid to ask that stupid question, because you can't keep doing what you're doing and expect to see anything different. So just try something new.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for that final word, because it's actually very spot on, and I'm sure many people can relate to that advice. So Cristina, I want to thank you so very much for your time today. And as I fumbled through my second interview for F the Cubicle, you were an amazing guest. I so appreciate that you took the time to speak with me today, because I know that you have so much value to share that I didn't want to miss out, or anyone miss out on that information. So again, I thank you so much for your time. And if you ever want to come back and share something, or something major happens, you just let me know, and I would love to have you back.
I'm always game for it, Bree. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. We reached out on Facebook, so I really appreciate it. I'm always game for it. And what you're doing is incredible. It's a message that does need to get out there, to just F the cubicle and do your thing and get your name attached to what it is you're doing, instead of the man, the corporate
hell.
Yes.
Give corporate hell. Maybe I should change my tagline. Give corporate hell. But yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Cristina. It was a pleasure, and I can't wait to see what else you do. I'm excited to hear that first podcast, so definitely keep me posted. I will definitely tune in. And again, thank you so much for connecting. I appreciate your visit with me today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
You too.